What's up, everybody? Welcome back to episode 14 of Crossover Athletes Insights. We have a great special guest, Miles Teller, here joining us from Carnival Cruise Ship out in where are you at, Miles?
Tampa, Florida. Gonna head out to the Bahamas.
Tampa, Florida. All right.
Yeah.
We got a good episode for you today. I think the biggest thing is the news out of Chicago. The Bears just locked down an extension for their top offensive weapon this season,
Who's
Cairo
that, Joey?
Santos. Cairo
Oh,
Santos,
they
4
got their
years,
franchise guy.
got their franchise guy. 4 years, 16 million. Um, probably the most consistent offensive weapon for the Bears this season. What do you think?
Yeah, him and Deontay Foreman.
I don't know, man. Deontay Foreman the past couple weeks, just the worst efficiency.
Yeah, I mean, he was due for a change of pace there.
Yeah.
How long can it last, right?
I mean, he made himself some money for next year, that's for sure.
Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah, I like watching him run.
Honestly, here's what I take. Here's the new take. All right, this is what the Bears are gonna do. They got the first pick in like the fifth or something like that. Just take two quarterbacks, right? Keep Justin, sign him to an extension, ride all three out. You're gonna find your guy eventually.
I did see a tweet about that. It was like, you know what? Sign Justin to an extension, draft
Yep.
Caleb Williams and then Drake May and or whoever whatever quarterbacks left, and one of them will hit.
Yeah,
Which
just pray, right? You can't go over three.
honestly, it's not the worst idea
I know.
because
It,
worst case scenario, if Fields doesn't work out, or let's say Fields does work out, then you have Caleb Williams and let's say Drake May's not going to be there. Let's say it's Michael Penix, my boy. Um,
dog.
or sorry, he probably won't go four. So probably Bo Nix.
No.
Who's
Yeah.
who's the other guy?
Bo's in that range. Bo's like around
Or
six. I
or
feel like
sorry, actually I got it. Jaden Daniels.
I knew you were gonna say that.
Yeah. Um. So let's say you got those three guys. Justin decides to be a quarterback again, like he was at Ohio State. Think about the trade value that those two guys have. Like,
Yeah. Or does it kill it that if Justin beats him out and we've seen what Justin does, that they does it kill their value, or does someone still just say like, all right, F it, I'm gonna go take Caleb Williams off your hands?
I think it absolutely skyrockets the value because the team that trades for them wouldn't have to give up that bonus money. You don't have to shell out 20
True.
mil.
That's fair. You're still gonna have to pay that first overall contract, but
Yeah, but I mean, still, you don't get locked. You don't have to shell out that bonus. And
yeah.
the teams that are needing a quarterback right now, I mean, typically, if we're going based on how sports go, it's usually the teams that don't want to pay money anyway.
Yeah. You don't have a
So,
choice. It's good. Like you miss on all your quarterbacks if you don't pay them. So it just means you suck anyways.
what if they all end up sucking? Take
Dude, did you imagine going 0 for 3 like that?
Imagine if they only take quarterbacks in the draft and they all
Dude,
suck.
7, like 10 picks of quarterbacks.
Yeah, the one guy that they don't pick ends up they don't take Michael Penix and he ends up being
They they get right. They miss on like two guys. Some guy in the fourth round that they didn't take that somebody else snagged, and that's the hit of the draft.
yeah.
They
That would
miss out
actually
on
I
Kyle
think
McCord next year.
yeah, he'll go 1-1 for sure.
Yeah.
Uh
45-0 that team lost Syracuse.
yeah. They heard who they were getting at quarterback. They were all
Yeah.
bummed out.
USF 45-0. And the Buckeyes won 11-1 with them. Kidding me?
I tell you what, Buckeyes are going to get boat raced next Friday.
Yeah, it's not going to be a fun game because I think
I,
Mizzou's quarterback's playing.
well, it's not even their quarterback, it's their running back. That's their dude.
Mm.
And have you watched them all this year?
No, I do know their quarterback's solid though. Like he's a good player.
Their team in general is legit.
Yeah,
They have a
it's one of their
very
better
good
teams.
well, and if you think about it, man, like so they're ranked what, like 11th or ninth in the polls?
I think they're 7 now or something like that.
Seven? Jeez.
I
Yeah,
thought so. Am I crazy for that?
I mean, you're not crazy for that. You're crazy for other things, but
Fair.
no, I mean, they've been legitimate all year long. And I think they're one of those
Hmm.
teams that because they're not a household name, they kind of got snubbed. Obviously, I'm not saying they're 9 and 10 and 2. So obviously they wouldn't be in the playoff anyway, but they
Right.
just weren't really talked about. And like they're playing great football. So the fact that they're coming in probably feeling pretty good about themselves, feeling pretty confident. Buckeyes, obviously, like nobody's going to play.
We have nobody,
Yeah,
and I, for the most part, like the draft guys, I really don't blame it. I think like they get
yeah,
people get a bad rep for that, but at the end of the day, it's like this game's meaningless.
yeah. I mean, if it was the playoffs, then and they weren't playing, it's like,
Well,
and I mean, obviously, I think NFL teams would see that and be like, okay, George Pickens, basically.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
it's not those aren't meaningless games, but like whoever wins the bowl game, honestly, like it's not that big of a deal.
no, it's a money grab for well, the thing is, it
There you go.
even pre NIL, it was a money grab. I knew some people that played for Power Five football programs, and I forget like the way it kind of worked, but they would get like very good gifts from like the Sun Belt Bowl and
Oh
stuff like
yeah,
they get new watches, iPads,
you get
Xboxes.
PlayStations, all that stuff.
Yeah. So like that's awesome. But I'm glad some
Yeah,
money
I mean,
grabs for the players then too. Like they get in on it
yeah,
a little
what
bit.
that was like the only time they got anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
How was that legal though? Like, you know what I mean? If the other stuff, if I couldn't have a bagel, but you can hand me a PlayStation for making a bowl game, like
You
it's
don't
just so corrupted.
you don't want me getting going on this again.
I know it's just a
I get
corruption
so
scheme.
angry. It's
Yeah,
just
I
I
mean,
hate the NCAA so much. I think and I hate to plug another podcast and I hope they don't mind me doing this, but I think Pat McAfee says it best. And I know like he's probably like, "Oh, Joey, don't like quote me or anything or paraphrase."
yeah, I'm sure he's
Um,
saying that. He
I
says, "Add Joey Murray, don't quote me."
I think he's pretty worried about what I say to our listeners. But no,
Yeah.
I mean, he's just he's the same thing we used to talk about. Just like what is the NCAA's purpose? Like they hold guys out. These are kids. Let them play the game that they want to play. Don't punish them just because when they're 18 years old, they made the wrong decision on where they wanted to go to school. That's the whole thing we've grown up on. It's like, oh, like, hey, don't worry about it. Like, you don't have to have your whole life figured out at 18. It's like, and then we look at these college athletes and we're like, nope, you got to have your whole life figured out. Sorry. Like,
Yeah.
you can't make a change. You can't make a transfer. And if you do, then you're known as, oh, you're a quitter. And oh, you don't care about your team. It's like, well, I don't know. I don't really agree with that.
Yeah, I mean,
There's,
I definitely don't agree with the like you don't care about your team part of things. Like I feel like the one transfer is okay, but I mean at the end of the day, it's still kind of like holding yourself accountable for being able to like, all right, I said I'm going to go here, I'm going to go and will my way to it type of thing. And I feel like if you just give them free transfers willy nilly, then you kind of lose that aspect of like accountability. And
yeah,
I'm not saying, yeah, I'm not saying that. I think it's in a okay place right now. I think the grad transfer rule, like being able to go every year after like you grad from the school, maybe a little out of hand. But in general, like it's a way better setup than they've had in the past. So I'm all for it. But I don't think that the bad rep of like them leaving the team like that should ever happen. Like they should never create that.
yeah. No, and I really don't think that a lot of people are just saying, I don't like it here. I'm leaving. Because like you create friendships, you create ties to that school,
Mm-hmm.
and you got a whole bunch of stuff going on. Like uh, everybody does take pride in where they go. So like, so if you're willing to leave, then that does mean something real is going on. It's not just I'm not
Right.
feeling it anymore. And maybe there are
Yeah.
those guys, but at the end of the day, those guys that are doing that, they won't stick around in the next program anyway. And either they're gonna
Mm-hmm.
have to leave or they're gonna get bumped out because
Well,
they're not the type of guy that's gonna be able to fit any culture.
right. And that's actually one of the best points you can make is like the fact that it's always like somebody always does it like creates a bad rep for everybody, right? And it's those people that create the bad rep for the guys that actually are transferring out of bad situations, right?
Yeah.
So at the end of the day is, you know, one guy ruins it for everything. That's the reason you can't have nice things, you know, and
Yeah.
that's true for this, like with the transfer rules, like everybody who leaves and gets going and they just get a bad rep right away for it.
Yeah. Yeah. I will say you said something that I don't know if I've ever disagreed with something more that you've
Uh-oh.
said. That you don't think you can go
This
willy
is hard to
nilly
believe.
that you can't go willy nilly transferring around after like if you graduate. I think that is an
Yeah,
amazing.
there it
I
is.
I think it's an amazing rule because let's face it, the vast majority of college athletes in general, they're not going to go pro. So what's the biggest goal So let's say I think they say 6% of college athletes go pro or something like that. Is some stupid NCAA commercial that I'm sure they lied to us about. Um,
Yeah.
but so let's say 6% of athletes go pro from college. That means 94% other athletes have to, in their words, go pro
Hmm.
in something else. If that your goal as a program should be, oh, Jesus, I'm trying to formulate this in my head, is
I
the
have a
goal should
counter right away, so you let me
the,
know when to
the
fire away, kid.
the goal should be to get as many people graduated as possible. So if you're going into your senior year and you're like, I don't really want to do this anymore because I hate the program, the coach, the culture, whatever, you name it. And you see that light at the end of the tunnel of like, oh, if I just graduate this year, which should be the goal from the start, is to get guys graduated and get them ready for the rest of their life. They see, oh, I can graduate and go leave somewhere else. Then to me, that's two birds with one stone. Because that's the best thing that you could
Yeah.
do is get the kid graduated.
I mean, that's fair and everything, but my point from this is like, if you have grad transfers going from school to school, what is that doing? It takes away from opportunities from kids that went to that school on the right, like on their right hunch and on their right gut. All of a sudden, I don't know, we're on a grad transfer, a sixth or seventh year guy now that we're talking about can just go school to school, and that kid now loses out on an opportunity. So it's the same idea. I'm going to throw this out there. You're going to so disagree with it, but this is how it feels to me, right? So you go to the school that you feel is the right choice, and you're not wanting to transfer. You want to go win a spot, and all of a sudden they bring in a sixth or seventh year guy that's like 5, 6 years older than you. How fair is that? I don't believe that
Well,
fair, but I
well,
think
that
it's okay. I think a one time. Hold on. I think a one time's okay. And the point is here. This is not in the realm of college, but it's the idea of taking opportunities away. Do you believe, as a baseball player, that Tim Tebow should have been in AAA and flirting with the big leagues as a baseball player?
absolutely not.
Right. That's an opportunity taken away from a kid that's worked his whole life to get to that point, all because of his name, all because of what he has, right? Or what he's created. So a guy that's 6 years older has obviously created more than that 18-year-old that you just got, right? But that kid hasn't had a chance and the opportunity, and now you're taking that away from them. And that's my point. Like it's obviously not baseball and it's not Tim Tebow, but you're given an opportunity and then you're getting it taken away. And I think that just adds to this cycle of endless transfers, and that's why it keeps getting a bad rep.
Yeah, no, I completely see your point. Um, and I don't think you should be able to go transferring willy nilly whenever you want. I think you should get a free one your first four,
Mm-hmm.
and if you graduate, you get another one.
They
And
get it like every year after they graduate from one school to the next.
I disagree. If you're getting your master's, I don't think you should get a free transfer, or if you get like a second
See,
degree.
that's what it is.
Yeah, see, I
Yeah.
disagree with that. But to your point, like you get to come in and you skip over a guy that's grinded for 3 years. I mean that's the
Mm-hmm.
same with any transfer, and we're not talking about banning like any other transfers. Just the graduation transfer, the
No,
one
but
that. Go ahead.
yeah. Well, because they have a more proven track record, they're practically, if they're being brought in, they're in there to start, right? So,
Yeah.
like, here you are, a
Well,
guy that's
well,
worked three
well.
years, and like,
I I mean
typically, I mean, why would you
think
bring him in?
Ohio State's third string quarterback.
Yeah, it's a. I mean, but
It's
they had
situation by
already had a
situation.
previous starter.
Yeah,
Yeah, but I'm
it's
saying like if they're this is the idea. So if you bring in a guy in, so you're in a position that, like, it's a position of need, right? So say we'll use the quarterback for example. We already had like C.J. Stroud, right? So like this was last year when we brought in like the dude from Kentucky or whatever, and he obviously wasn't going to start. But at the end of the day, is most people bring in like those grad transfer guys because they're in need of that position. They're in need of a quarterback, and that guy can go in and fill that role right away. And here you are as a third year, second year, whatever it is, where you thought that you were going to have an opportunity signing, right? When you first signed 3 years ago, like, up, I'm right behind this guy, I can work in as he gets out of the program. And now they bring in a guy that jumps you because he's already got a proven track record, and now you never got a chance. So now you have to leave. It's just a cycle. It's just a
yeah,
continuous cycle. And that's the thing.
yeah. No, and I do completely agree with what you're saying in terms of like that it sucks. But in my head,
It's life.
I think I hate when people say that. Like, yes, it is life. Like, yeah, like it happens and like things are not going to go your way and you're going to have to grind through really unfortunate situations. But my I kind of lean more towards you need to you have one chance at this. And like we face the same thing in our baseball careers. Like we have one chance at this, and you need to do whatever is best for you and not have to
Hmm.
worry about what everybody else is going to think, what how it impacts. I mean, obviously family is different, but if you're transferring, you can't be worrying about taking opportunities away from another kid. Like you need to, if you
No,
think I I have the opportunity to do this, I just need a chance to prove myself. Like you need to do like what it takes to get there. And yeah, it sucks for the
yeah,
guys that you're jumping over, and that might cause some other kids to transfer. But I think you should have the freedom to control your career as much as possible. And if that's going somewhere else where you think you have a real opportunity, then I think you need to sometimes, like, yeah, if you screw somebody over, it sucks. Don't get me wrong, but you need to do what you think is best for your life.
no, and that's why I really like the undergrad rule. It's just the grad transfer rule that kind of gets to me a little bit, and that's it. I think like being able to get that free transfer, like you said, they're 18 years old or younger than that, 17 years old most of the time when you're making that decision or signing
Yep.
that piece of paper, to go there for the next 3 4 years if you make it pro less than three, right, or three or less, and so it's a good that's a great piece of the puzzle that they've added because making you guys sit out for not really knowing where he wanted to go originally is not the right situation. And the NCAA made a good change there. It's just like I said, the grad transfer when there's a guy that's 6 years older than the freshman coming in, and he's already had the chance and he's had his opportunity. In the younger people that have come up and that they've set themselves up throughout the program, that's the problem that I have.
Yeah. No, I do see your
And
point. Yeah. No,
so
yeah. Go ahead.
no, that's really it. I mean, I think that's my take on the college transfer rules. I like I said, I'm okay with it. I think like at the end of the day, NCAA is the scum of the scum with you. So anything to shove it in their faces, but I'm not saying shove it in the face of the other players. So that's all. That's what I
Yeah.
got.
Yeah, and I want to reiterate the reason I'm extremely high on the grad transfer rule is that it promotes graduating. And that is like
That's
a
fair.
life-changing decision. And I think in a
That
lot of
most of
time,
those.
huh?
Sorry, go ahead. Sorry,
I
I
think
was
it
Go ahead.
I think a lot of times in the heat of the moment when like you're emotional about, oh, a coach just said you're not gonna be able to play here, or you're probably not gonna play here, and you need to figure out what you want to do. A lot of the times, like, and there was a baseball. I'm obviously not going to mention them, but this year a baseball player told me like, yeah, if I didn't play baseball, like they were thinking about taking my scholarship, and if they would have taken that, like I would just quit. Like,
Right.
and I asked, why wouldn't you have continued with school and just finished your degree? And it was just some
Can't afford.
BS. It was just some BS answer. That's just
Oh,
and obviously like that is not the a great way of thinking, but that is a real way of thinking. That's how people do think. So I think just getting people through school and
thank you.
getting that piece of paper, I think that like that's a
Yeah,
life
no,
changing
and
decision.
that's absolutely that's the amazing platform that the NCAA is given. Whether they may not take advantage of that side of the things, but the kids who are able to put themselves in those positions that other people in their family have not, which you hear a lot about, like especially in football,
Yeah.
um, and it's a great opportunity. That's why athletics are the best. Essentially, that's why everybody loves them because of stories like that always come up. And there's heartwarming things throughout athletics, not just the hard tough decisions that are made day in and day out.
Yeah, and you got to think like that's
So,
probably was probably the driving factor behind the NIL stuff is like obviously when we were in college, the illegal benefits that we could have received ranged from free food, free drinks, like that kind
mhm.
of stuff. In college,
Yeah,
they're so valuable and so much money was being left on the table for these people that a
yeah,
lot of the times come from horrible situations, and
nothing. Yeah,
sports are football is how they're going to get their whole family and pull everybody up, and they were
yeah,
taking that away from them. So I think that's was a huge driving factor in that.
yeah. I'm full on that. Absolutely. I mean, why? How could you? It's the stupidest thing that you can't make money off your own like image. It's your own brand. Right? Your name is like yourself, right? And how fair is it for some guy that's never met you before, sitting up in a chair in a nice office for the NCAA, just taking money from your name? It's just not right. So,
Yeah, and one of the things I think about is like in every industry in the United States, your value is determined by the market, except
mhm.
for well, obviously not now, but pre NIL, it's hard to think of another market where the or yeah, another market where the market didn't determine your value and just some person in a cubicle was able to be like, ah, nope, you don't deserve that because
Right.
because we want to call you an amateur. And at the end of the day, that's just a label and really doesn't mean anything at all. Like everybody says, oh, what's the difference between a college athlete and a pro athlete now? It's like, who cares? Like, why does it
Yeah.
matter? It's just a label.
Yeah.
It's just what you call them. Let's just call the college guys
That,
professional athletes. Who cares? Like, why does it
yeah.
matter?
I mean, because they won't do that, then they get even more freedoms.
I know. Yeah. Gotta love the NCAA. Can we just abolish it? Like,
Yeah,
let's
let's get
take a
on.
nationwide
Yo,
vote. No,
they're
just
too big, bro. Too powerful.
like
It's a
obviously,
monopoly.
obviously, we need something like a governing body because it would just get so
Hmm.
ridiculous. But the NCAA is just not it, and it's just amazing their lack of awareness. Like they have to know everybody hates them and nobody thinks they do a good
Oh, they
job.
know.
But
They
like
know, but they
they
don't
they
care
can,
because they're reckoning in billions.
but they continue to not make any change. They have to know that they're on their way out.
I don't. They're too powerful, too strong.
I don't think
Seriously.
thing is I don't know if they're obviously they're very strong, but I don't know. It's kind of like a I don't know. I don't think they're as powerful as people think they are anymore. There's people within the not within the NCAA particular, but within college sports saying, okay, they just and this has happened a lot in basketball. They're saying, nope, this guy's not eligible to play right now. We're still waiting on his waiver claim or whatever they call it in there. And people are, and like the coach is saying, like, I wonder what would happen if we just played him. Like,
Yeah.
and like,
What are you gonna do?
and the NCAA takes away their wins. What does that even mean? What does that even mean? At the end of the day, who cares
Yeah, it's
about
just a
your
legacy
record since
thing,
1908? Who cares?
right?
Not me. Not the guy that you're recruiting. You can't do a recruiting pitch. Oh yeah, man, we're eighth in the nation. Sorry, now we're ninth because we just got our wins taken away because I stood by my player's side. But hey, we're ninth since 1907 in total wins and winning percentage. It's like, what have you been doing this past
Yeah.
5 years? We're actually 135th, but if you look at the past 200 years, like we're actually number one.
Yeah, and I mean they're not selling that for sure.
No, I know, but
But
it's
then
just like
like it
so. What is
ruins
taking?
their last like 5 years if you take it away.
Yeah,
I don't think it matters either. I'm just saying.
yeah, like
Play devil's advocate there.
yeah, no, I know. It's just not going to change how like your ability to recruit
Yeah.
if like, oh yeah, we had wins taken away. I if I was a
Nah,
player or if like I had a
you'd
kid that
like
was
it
getting
more.
recruited,
Like
if
you'd
I was
love
a
that story.
yeah, like if I was a kid that was getting like if I was the parent of a kid that's getting recruited and some a school reaches out to my kid and I find out that the year prior they got wins vacated because the coach stood by his player and said, "You know what? No, you deserve to play and I'm going to treat you as
Yeah.
such." Obviously, I mean, it could you could feel either way about it. It's totally makes
No,
sense,
I
but
mean I agree. I think you as a guy who's enjoyed players coaches along the way. I've had the fair share of both. Like we're not players coaches and
yeah.
players coaches, and obviously you always choose playing for the players coach, and that's the type of guy that feeds into.
Well, I don't think it necessarily has to be a player's coach. I think any good coach is a coach that
Yeah,
puts their players' best interest and their
also true.
players
Yeah,
that actually truly cares who they are, like how they're doing as a person, and not just as a ball player.
yeah,
And I think
that's fair. I'm
that
with
would say
that.
a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, I am with that. All right. You want to move on because I know this
How
is
much?
actually our first pod. Yeah, so that's on you. I can't see the timer.
It doesn't say it.
So this is our first pod on Zoom. We are ripping the 40-minute limit.
I do
Couldn't
not
get
have.
the normal setup.
I do not have
No
the.
clue.
No, doesn't say on
Well,
here.
that's good. So we have no idea. We may or may not get a sign off. You may have to just add us like a video sign off at the end here.
I don't know. I don't think
Um,
anybody's making it to the end.
yeah, it's still worth it. Need it for the people that do. Well, half
Your
of you.
dad.
Uh, yeah, that's about it. Okay, so we talked about what we were gonna say, and maybe I'll save it for Saturday because I have a good, or for Tuesdays.
Okay.
Because I had an interesting one where I saw where people were talking extend one more year or cut them, and what are you going to do on quarterbacks in the NFL? And I thought it was a fun talking point.
All right,
So
well, you
we
brought it
can
up,
rip it
so
now, or you want to save it for Tuesday?
let's just rip it now. You brought it up.
Okay. We'll go number one, Jordan Love.
Ah,
It's
extend them.
extension, one more or cut.
Extend. I like him, man.
You've seen it in 4 games, 4 games, 4 good games. You want to extend
No,
him?
I like the way he like operates. He looks comfortable out there. It's tough enough finding a quarterback that's comfortable in the NFL, and it looks like he's finally slowed the game down. And the one thing that I've noticed is he has a really tough time throwing with semi tough wind.
Wind?
Wind is a huge issue for him recently. His ball just flood. He's not driving it through the wind, and you can see it on his throws where they end
Yeah,
up on balls like 20 plus yards down the field. If it's gusting wind, he
that's
cannot drive it
interesting.
through. So that's what I've noticed.
All right, so you're going to pay the guy $20 million, $25 million.
It's the first time playing football in what 4 years?
Yeah, and he's had 4 good games.
Yeah, I think
I'm
he.
with you. I like the extension too. I just
Yeah,
it's
I
just
think he
so
looks. Speaking of him, Utah State just popped up. They're starting in 6 minutes. He went to
oh
Utah State.
that's yeah, that's right.
Oh, by the way, Ohio State's 7 and Missouri's 9.
Okay, that's what it was.
Yeah,
I knew 7 was in there somewhere, bro. I just didn't know which one, I
just
guess.
not used to it
What?
being Ohio State.
Yeah, usually it's the top at least 5. I'm gonna mute myself here. Why don't you let him rip for a little bit?
It's just off the dome. All right. Let me start thinking. Justin Fields. I think. I think you let him go. I think.
All right, I'm back. I had a little emergency fire alarm on the cruise ship here, guys. I almost had to dive overboard. I was a little worried.
Nobody else was worried.
Yeah,
Everybody was hoping for it.
they were probably all jumping for joy.
No. Actually, no. I'd try to get him
We
for
we've
one.
done a lot of Justin talk. I get it. I would cut him too because I'd go get
No,
the
no. I
reset
switched. I'd go
contract.
one more if it's a decent price.
Okay, it's probably yeah. All right, I'd cut him because I want the reset. Can you hear this?
Kind of. It's not bad.
Okay, it's just so loud in my ear that I'm like thinking that whatever. All right, next one. Derek Carr.
Dude, I just think he's such a blah quarterback. I don't think you can win a Super Bowl with Derek Carr. He's
He is
got the
very blah.
weapons. He's got the weapons, and he's got an elite defense. Our meeting will end in 10 minutes. I just got a notification.
All
Oh
right.
yeah, we
Well,
got a
let's rip
timer
through.
up, baby. Yeah, it's huge. Um,
Let's do a quick
no,
little
I
five
just like
minute
I
of
just
each.
don't
Come
I
on.
just don't think he's really showed much in the time he's been in the NFL. He looks like he's a serviceable quarterback that could get your team to 500, but
So
you
what would
see
you
what
do with him?
I'd cut him.
You would. He's so tough because I feel like he's okay enough where I'd give him another year to bridge the gap type of thing until we can find
I
a
mean,
better suited situation. Or do you
yeah,
just
but
dive bomb it into Jameis?
see, I think I'd have to take a look at what quarterback. Yeah, I was gonna say Baker, but Baker's probably gonna sign an extension with the Bucks. I've always been pretty big
That was
on
my next
Baker.
one.
I extend him. That you'd be an idiot to not extend him. They will extend him because you just constantly hear about how much the guys love him. Which I'm sure he's a leader. Like you can't
He is definitely.
so you can't not extend the leader of your football team. That's like I mean he looks legit
Just
whenever it's not raining.
he's very hit or miss.
Yeah, yeah. I mean
He's
they just
always had. I was talking to my buddy who's a huge Browns fan, and he's like, "This is the Baker wave. Like he is gonna have these moments where he is like just climbing up, and you're like, he's back. He's Baker." And then all of a sudden, he's going to have a game of 100 yards and 3 picks. And you're like, this guy is the worst freaking quarterback I've ever seen in my life. And then you're going to have to pay him $25 million for the
yeah
next 4 years.
yeah I get that, but I'd still rather have him than Derek Carr because at least
I, for the reason that you said that he is a leader, and I think that carries so much weight. More so, I think Derek's a better arm, but Baker's a better football player.
yeah, and Baker's just when you watch him play, like he's a football player that plays quarterback. A lot of times we see non-football players playing quarterback, and that
Mm-hmm.
don't get me wrong, that are extremely successful. But if if Baker wasn't a quarterback, he would still be playing football. just
Yeah.
something else. Like Peyton, no, but not necessarily in the NFL, but like
Yeah,
would
he just
still
loves
be a football
football.
guy. Like we're not talking
Yeah.
Peyton Manning. Peyton Manning, he if he wasn't a quarterback, he's not
I
doing
don't
it.
know I get where you're going, but I don't.
Obviously, I know he's a Hall of Famer, but I'm trying to think of
Good
like
point,
another.
Joey. Good point.
I know it's a good point. My point is that he's a football player that does not shy away from contact, and he wants the contact.
Lives for it. Lives for it. All right, let's rip into a different one here. We only had the 10 minutes, right? So we got 8 left.
7.
Whew. All right. How about this? The Ravens steal Christmas. What do you got? The Niners Ravens Monday night. Biggest game of the year probably up until this point. We thought it was going to be Niners Eagles, and now leading into this tough schedule stretch here for the Niners, but they just keep rolling.
I think the Niners are going to win, but I want Baltimore to win just because I know that if Baltimore wins, it's going to be an amazing game. I could see this
Yeah,
being a blowout for the Niners. I don't
it's
think
not going to be a
Baltimore
blowout
blows.
for the Ravens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and I think we all saw how fun it is to watch Lamar Jackson run around last week on primetime. And I think
Mm-hmm.
it was a lot of people's true first real glimpse at to what he can actually do out there and the impact that he makes. Um, and that's something that doesn't really go on the stat sheet is his ability to like he was running around for like nine
I feel
seconds
like
before he
that's
threw.
known, bro. I feel like that's
No, it's
known.
it's known, but it's one of those things that
You
like
forget about maybe. I always
yeah.
he's
So like
incredible.
for me, like relating it to baseball is oh, I know this guy throws 100. I haven't seen him pitch in a while. And then you watch his bullpen, you're like, oh my God, I forgot that it was like that. Like it's
Yeah.
just
So
a
like you knew he's got the
different.
MVP and you knew he was like that, but then he's had a couple down years, a couple injury riddled,
Yeah, because
over
like
the past couple
and you see the stat line, it's like, oh, Lamar Jackson just ran for 110 yards and passed for 210.
210. Yeah.
And you're like, yep, that's Lamar Jackson. He's really fast. And then you watch how he does it. And he
It's
runs for
nobody
100.
else does it that way.
And it's just like he ran for 110 yards on the day. If you check his catapult, he probably ran 10,000 yards because he's just been running all over the field and never stops.
Yeah, and the thing is, the Ravens here have. We're talking about the matchup. The Ravens here have a good O line. Ronnie Stanley's been hurt in and out, so that may hurt the team just a little bit. But this is like the one guy that can give his team a chance at the quarterback position that to like really evade the rush when you're talking about the elite guys that they have on the 49ers side. So like it's going to be an interesting match that not even just between the D line and the O line, but between the D line and Lamar. Like that's what's going to be sick watching Nick Bosa and Chase Young and those guys try and chase him
Try
down,
to
and he's
catch
going to
him.
do what he can to get away. I know it's going to be insane.
It's gonna be awesome. I'm really everybody's looking forward to it.
I'm
But there's
so
not one
excited
person
for
that's
it
just like not gonna watch the game.
on Christmas Day. I mean, what a gift! What a gift!
What a gift from Santa.
Mm-hmm. He's always bringing. Mm-mm-mm. Well, with that being said, I think the line's at like 5.5, which is kind of crazy. But
That's a
the
fair. I think
Niners
it's a good
team
line.
is Niners team's just so dominant that
Yeah.
that's just where they are with everybody. Like that is the second best team in football with the Ravens, and they are 5.5 point favorites,
Yeah. Where's the
which
game?
is I think it's in San Fran. So
I
no
wish that was
snow.
in
We're
Baltimore.
not getting snow. I know. That'd be sick.
But
Could
not
you
even the
imagine
snow.
a
I just
snow
I would just
game?
like I just wanted to be in Baltimore. Just
Give them a chance.
yeah.
I mean, ultimately, I don't say like I have to say that the Niners win. I just don't see how they lose at this point. They can have a bad game eventually here, and hopefully it's not in the playoffs for their sakes. But like they're gonna lose one more game here. Maybe they don't. I don't know. They're just incredible.
Well, and
Uh,
we even saw their 3-game skid earlier in the year, and they looked like in our heads, we were like, that's a bad football. Like they're playing bad football. One of the games, they just completely blew it against the Browns, and the Browns are going to be in the playoffs. So, like the fact that
yeah,
one of their blown wins that got us all talking about, maybe they're not as good as we thought they were. One of their losses is against the Browns. I don't know who the other two were in that skid, but was it the Rams? Did the Rams beat them?
I'm pretty sure the Jets beat them.
Oof,
I'm
that's
pretty sure
tough.
Zach Wilson beat them. Well, so all their losses were like Oh, he's back. Yeah, all their losses were like pretty much Brock Purdy's base. Like he was inefficient and throwing interceptions, which is something he typically doesn't do. And like over that 3-loss skid was his 3 worst games. And we talked about on the pod actually, I kind of remember it is like his trailing versus like
Oh yeah.
lead stats are crazy different, right? So I think that also could be something that will be an interesting watch. Like if Baltimore can jump up to 7-0 or 10-0 early on, like what does that do to Brock Purdy and the Niners offense? It'd be interesting because the Ravens are so keen at just being able to run the ball at will, right? And they did it against, or no, they didn't do it, but that's just their thing, right? So like typically they'll be able to run the football. So I don't know.
Yeah,
Be
we'll
interested to see
see.
if they can get that
No,
lead and put Brock Purdy in a position to throw the football, and they know they're throwing the football,
yeah, no Keaton Mitchell either.
right? But Lamar,
But Lamar, I think Justice Hill is going to be serviceable in that role. Obviously not.
it'd be fine.
Yeah, he's not Keaton Mitchell, but like he'll be fine. They have Gus Edwards for the short yardage stuff.
Yeah,
So
be
I'll
getting
probably queue up an
touchdowns.
anytime tutty for Gus.
Probably at minus 150 with no Keaton Mitchell. He's probably not that high, but it's still he's gonna be in the minuses, probably 110, 120.
I know. I
That's
can
my
see it happening.
guess
I can see it happening.
for sure.
But
Well,
all right, we are
you
at a
got anything
minute
else,
left.
brother?
No, I think we're at a
Rip it
minute
out.
left. Well, thanks everybody for joining. Really glad we could get Miles Teller on the pod this week. I know your schedule is
My
pretty tight right now, shooting uh
we're
what's
keeping it on the down low right now. Can't tell you what I'm shooting, but I'm actually getting ready to go win the belly flop competition out here at the pool here in a second. So we'll get that video up for you if you want. Leave some comments for that. Otherwise, you're not going to get to see it.
brother, I've been on a Carnival cruise. I have seen the kind of weight being thrown around on those contests, and you ain't gonna win this one, buddy.
You don't think I got a chance? What if I did a backflip belly flop?
That would probably be the one chance. And then with our next podcast would be me here and you in a hospital with a bandage on your head, and you just be spitting out even worse takes than normal. So we got to go. This is about to cut
Oh,
me off. Thanks for
yep.
tuning in. Yep. Hope your boat doesn't pull a Titanic. And yeah, we'll see
Why
you
would you
guys.
even say that?
We'll see you guys on Tuesday. Miles, enjoy the Bahamas.
Appreciate it. See you